Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of.
Dad, I love you, but.
Wow, it's been a while. For anybody new who's joining us, I'm Shamik,
And I'm Paresh,
and we're the hosts.
and I'm the dad.
And I guess I'm the son, unfortunately. Somehow that is how that ended up happening.
Yeah. You gotta blame the powers that be above,
Well,
for
blame, thank, it's a coin flip depending on the day, obviously.
of course. It's too cold to blame anybody, right?
Yeah,
So it's okay.
It's
Yeah.
freezing.
It's been a while
freezing
since we did this, Shamik.
Yeah, it's so much has happened. So much stuff has happened. We were on a trip. We went to India for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. Well, I was there for 3 weeks. You were there for 2 weeks, right?
Yes, I was there for 2 weeks. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what happened? And then we moved
And
offices.
then there was 2 weeks of work, the year-end work that is usually there that we
Yeah.
tied with. And then we moved offices and finally we're trying to settle into the new office. How do you feel about the new office?
I love it. I have so much more room. I have so much more space. It's so much nice. So much nicer. I was really cramped. I mean, you couldn't tell, but like I was pretty cramped. But I'm sure at some point I'm gonna become cramped again because they're gonna fill this place up.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? That's why you take larger space to to expand the practice, to give.
Wow.
But anyway, that's
That's
part of the process. I mean, I've enjoyed the move. I've got more space, but more than anything else, I think the morale in the organization seems to be good, and everyone has cooperated a lot in trying to make this move for all of us. So I'm excited,
yeah. It's an exciting time. It's an exciting time. New year, new beginnings.
Yeah.
All that good stuff.
Did you make any New Year resolutions?
I actually I don't like resolutions. I
Yeah.
think that like for me, and I was talking about this with somebody else, but I don't like resolutions because I think the things that I want to do, like I wait until the new year to like do them, and then
Yeah.
like to set like goal limits or like I don't know. I have like visions for things that I want, but like to set goals or like limits for those kinds of things doesn't make sense to me. So
I was at a seminar, and one of the things that was said was that we always we always overestimate what we can do in 1 year and always underestimate what we can do in 10, in a decade. So, when you're setting your vision, if you're trying to look at the 10-year thing and then drill it back to the 1-year thing, what they were trying to say basically is if you have a 10-year vision and then if you try to make it a 1-year vision, you'll try to shoot for the moon because you'll think of too high numbers. But if you set a proper 10-year large vision and then break it to 1-year goals, it's more likely that you're going to succeed. I mean, that's what they were talking about.
yeah, I was watching a video. This is a couple of years back, but instead of doing 1 year resolutions, it's about quarters, like 3 months type thing. And I think we sort of do that in the practice as well with like rocks and stuff like that.
That's
If
true.
anybody's familiar with that. But in specific, quarterly chunks is probably the best way to be looking at things in a certain person that I saw's videos opinions about it. But
Yeah.
I think I tend to agree, but I think that like why wait? Like why wait to put for me, if I have a desire to get something done, like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just gonna go for it. Like why wait?
Good. Get it done. Get it started,
Yeah. What's the point of
I think the
procrastinating?
biggest thing is inertia, getting started.
Yeah.
Like
I
in
think
the morning, getting up in the morning to go to the gym. Getting up and getting out of the house is tough. Once you're out, you're going to go and do it,
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, for sure. I think getting out of the house is a big stumbling block sometimes.
Yeah.
For me especially. But once you're out of the house, then yeah, like you go and you do all the things.
Yeah, I don't think it's for you only. It's for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure.
What else is happening in your life? Anything new that's transpired in the last few days,
Yeah, a couple of different things. First of all, I think a lot of people, especially when we were on our trip, had heard our podcast. So, thank you to everybody who's listening. If you may or may not be listening, who knows? But thank you. It was great to meet everyone, obviously. And
I don't think I told you. Just now I was in Kansas again.
Oh, yeah?
Kansas City, and I met somebody who said, by the way, I heard your podcast, really good, So
All right. Okay. Cool. 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 So, yeah, I'm glad people are hearing it. I mean, if people like it, then people like it. If people don't like it, that's fine too. It's not for them. I feel like we do the podcast for us. I don't know. What do you think? Who
I
do you do
I
the
do
who?
it I do it for us, and
Yeah.
then and it becomes a good, it's like it's nice that others hear it, share it, enjoy it, but the goal is for us.
Yeah, it's for us. It's for us. There's no, I may have mentioned this before, but I literally think that the idea for this came from like, I think we were just having a conversation and the thought came to my head that like, we should just record this and post it online because I don't know, I think there's some good stuff in our conversations and whatever. I don't know if it's valuable or not, but it's at least entertaining, I hope. Right? What do you think?
Well, you know what? You said that we talk and there's good stuff. Not always, but okay. Hopefully,
No, not always.
so far we've been doing some good stuff.
I
So
think who knows? Who knows?
so
We can
thank you to
only
everybody who's listening.
yes. Thank you to everybody who's listening. The other thing that happened was I was meeting some people. These are people who are older and they're retired now.
Okay.
And I felt as somebody who I think previously I was not working. I was struggling to find work and also having the energy to be able to go to work and stuff like that. School was like a big challenge for me at certain times in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I think I previously thought like, oh, I think I previously thought of retirement. I don't really think of retirement. I didn't really think of retirement, but I guess I thought of it more like a holiday, right? Like a holiday that I get from work or something like that. I met some people who were retired. I sat and chatted a little bit, and I felt a sense of purposelessness or like aimlessness
Mm.
from them, that scared me. I don't know if it scared me or shook me, but like that was a bit of an eye-opener for me of like sometimes like what is the story after retirement, right? I guess I don't know.
I do a lot of seminars for people who are planning to retire or who've already retired.
Right.
And one of the first things that I always say is, our firm is a financial planning firm, financial advisory firm. So retirement and talking about retirement and that's a pretty standard conversation / goal. And everyone's concern is about the money part of it, that
Yeah, I think
that
that's the way that I thought about it a lot as well.
yeah, that people want to think that, will my money last out when I stop earning? Will it be adequate? Will it be protected? Like this morning, I had a conversation with somebody, and they were like, "Market's looking uncertain. So what do we should we get conservative? How much conservative? Things like that." What I'd like to tell people first is that the financial part is just a sliver. It's one sliver. If you want, take a pizza cut into 12 slices, and this could be 1/12 of that slice, the financial part. So but a big part, maybe even 2 or 3 slices worth, is making a decision on what you're going to retire to, not just just the fact that retirement. There are many people who go through their career and at times they do not enjoy what they do. So when there's a preset date at which they can stop working, either they decide it or the employer decides it or some kind of government norm decides it, then they stop working at that time. And if they're not enjoying what they're doing, they're like, I'm going to retire. So it's going to be freedom for me, and then when till they don't see what they're going to do at that time. And often that results in a lot of challenges, and for the rest of life. I mean, to add further to that, one of the big changes that happened in the last 40 years. So 40 years ago, let's take 40, 50, 40 years ago, maybe 30 years ago also. A person stopped working, say somewhere between 60 and 65. Yep. And then by the time they were 70, 75, more than 2/3 of them passed away, So what was happening was that they really didn't have that long window to think about these things. Now we have longevity. So people are living to 85, 90, 95. The largest growing in terms of percentage, the largest growing component of our population is the people over 100. Now you have 30 years after you stop working, probably. Are you thinking about what you're going to do? So, in that context, what was your conversation with those people?
I didn't mention anything to them specifically. It was just my thoughts. These are just my thoughts on, I don't know. It sounds scary. It sounds
Mm-hmm.
boring.
Mm-hmm.
It sounds really lonely. I think especially if you don't have a partner, you know.
Yeah.
If you don't have a close community or a circle or something like that, that's definitely probably leads to a lot of like mental health challenges as well. Because
Yeah.
humans are social creatures. Like if you don't have that thing around you, then like if you don't have that community, that family or whatever, not necessarily family, but even chosen or found family or friends, things like that, the people that you call your family, whatever that may be, not having that seems like it would cause like a very high rate of like mental health challenges for sure. And I think the word is ennui, where it's like, what are you doing, like what is life anymore, right? Like what you for such a big percentage of your life you got out every day and you work from 9 to 5. You spent 40 hours at work, right? That's like a third of your life, a third of the hours you have in a week. About another
But
third
that's
is,
just that's just normal. Most people are doing 50, 70 hours a week, you
yeah,
know.
exactly. And then another third is like sleeping, traveling, all eating, like all the other necessary functions of life.
Yeah.
And another third is probably like, I think if your parents, you have kids, you're dealing with that. You're dealing with all the other like mundanities of life, and then maybe whatever other time you have, you spend it on your hobbies or things like that. But all of a sudden, like so much time frees up. I think, especially for a lot of these people, like their kids are dealing with their grandchildren, and things like that. I don't know. I feel like I thought about it and I thought like maybe I may be bored. I might be bored. Like I might just be bored all the time, Like what would I do?
Yeah. Yeah. All the things that you said are very, very valid. I mean, first of all, I had a direct case in which I met somebody, and that person was like, every time I met her, that lady would say something like, 2 years and 12 days to go, 5 years and 10 days. Then it came down to 4 years and so much. Eventually, 2 years and 12 days. Then eventually, the day of retirement. And within a year and a half of retirement, she was having mental health challenges and visiting doctors, etc. So that's what you said about mental health challenges, an absolute reality. But then I wanted I think this discussion, you brought about a very important point about social creatures and retirement. So have you heard about this happiness study which has taken place,
Is that the
The,
one where they follow people for like a really, really
almost,
long?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
this
so.
was
I've heard of this one.
yeah, this is done by a group at Harvard, has done it for many, many years. And they have a guy who's now chairing it. And I recently read a podcast about him. I think they have data now going back like 10 decades or 8 decades or something. And there are some of the people in the original group from 8 decades ago who are still there, but then the other people have all passed away. And they're trying to track that who's happy and who's living long. And a lot has to do with what the social elements of those things are. It's that those who have a people they care about, those who have people who care about them. Then there are those people who actively engage in doing things that are helpful to others, and that keeps their sense of self-worth. And all of those things have added the biggest factors in longevity. I mean, in that sense, probably COVID was the biggest disaster, right?
Oh, for sure. I think speaking of COVID, I think and mental health, I think we're gonna we're seeing the after effects of COVID, and it's gonna be pretty, I think, traumatic for a generation.
Well, expand on your thought. What do you
I
mean
I
by?
I mean, 2 years of social isolation, I think a lot of people found some way to stay connected, but it was not in the same way or same levels that they were able to pre-pandemic. And 2 or 3 years of that kind of social isolation is profoundly, profoundly damaging to the brain,
Yeah.
And we saw during COVID a huge spike in mental health challenges, but I think a lot of the long-term effects of COVID will be like mental health related, and a lot of problems are to come as a result of this thing that's happened.
Do you even see it in younger people? I mean, I know we're talking about retirees here, but do you even see it in younger people?
I think so.
Okay. Because in older people, it's definitely there. I mean, there was a lot of people who just kind of stopped believing in life. Things were coming to an end. They couldn't meet people. I mean, think about this thing that, as it is, you're moving around on a shoestring of relationships, and then on top of it, you can't meet those also. You can't hang around with them also. So it became a very, very challenging time in life. And I think that leads us to definitely that, how do we continue to engage more people socially? I think that determines our overall happiness in life. It's about building those bonds. I mean, I think that probably this is what I found best about the trip that we took to just now recently to India about 4 weeks ago, that, it was, of course, your cousin, my niece's wedding. And so that meant opportunity to hang around with the whole family. But that was, that is what that bonding, recreating that bonding after so many years with so many people, meeting with them, chatting with them, exchanging things. I think that social element which came about in those time was really the fun part of life. And I think if you relate that with the isolation part that happened in COVID, I think it all adds up to us needing to be really social creatures in order for us to enjoy and be happy in life.
Yeah, I 100% agree, both in terms of like the conclusion, but definitely in terms of, when we went on our trip and, feeling that way about, we here like have a small family. It's just
Yeah.
you, me, and mom. But going from having a small family to having a big family again was really different. I mean, I think that I haven't been back to India in 5 or 6 years since before this trip, right? So back then I was I was 21, maybe
Wow.
20. It's like I'm 27 now, by the way, which is crazy.
Ooh,
But
are you? Really? Okay, sorry. Couldn't
I'm
resist.
gonna leave the Zoom recording right now.
Couldn't resist.
I'm gonna
Sorry.
go. Bye.
Bye.
No, I'm kidding. I'm in my late 20s apparently now.
Okay.
But mid to late 20s, who knows, whatever. But I think before I wasn't really able to appreciate having a big family versus having a small family. But this time I was really able to feel it. Yeah, I don't know. I think I missed it. At first I thought I wasn't gonna like have fun or enjoy it, but I did. I had a really, really good time, and I think I want to try to go again at some point.
Yeah. I think it's not just about the, I think there is the study that I talked about, it really lent to the fact that how you approach this whole thing. I mean,
this whole life thing.
Huh?
Whole life thing.
Not life thing, how you approach this whole social relationships thing, I mean, end of the day, it is, I mean, careers are challenging, and they take a lot out of us, and there is a lot of time element that we need to devote to our building our careers, and then life around it itself, like you got to have your food and your laundry and your, whatever you need to do in order to sustain that life. But then beyond that, how do you work towards maintaining those relationships and family? Like there's a story, I think somewhere, I don't know where I read it, about this longevity in one of the villages. I think it was an Italian village. Why is their longevity so high? Well, for many, it's a small, like it's like 2 blocks. That's the size of the village. And in the evening, because of the good weather right through the year, everyone steps out, sits on the front door. People are walking around. Kids are playing. Everyone is watching each other's kids. People have seen these. People who are in their 80s have seen people, the kids who are in their 50s, or people in the 50s for the last 50 years. And on the same
Exactly.
street.
Yeah,
Meeting
yeah, yeah.
each other. So those relationships that have come about because of that over the years, that is what sustains and helps them get their longevity. So
Yeah.
it's a lesson to be learned, and in today's day and age, to kind of have to work towards executing that is I think is the challenge to humanity.
I think for sure. I think I'm reminded of I was watching an interview with Simon Sinek.
Uh-huh.
There's some siren going off. I'm sorry to the audio listeners. But Simon Sinek said in an interview that a lot of things these days come with instant gratification. Which is, you want food, you could just order it instantly. You want to buy something, you can Amazon, whatever. Even dating and love and things like that. Like before you had to, like, I think this is his quote, like you had to like go up to somebody in a bar and do the whole awkward, like, hey, how are you, like this, that, like whatever. But now you have Tinder, you can just like swipe right, swipe left.
Yeah, do what you need to do.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of things have instant gratification, but
Yeah.
there are two things that you cannot rush and you cannot get
Yeah.
that thing for. And the two things that he says is job satisfaction and long-lasting relationships.
No, that's interesting. Long-lasting relationship. The word long-lasting itself is
Well,
long-lasting.
Yeah,
I mean,
but like meaningful relationships.
Meaningful
Meaningful
relationships.
relationships.
Meaningful relationships.
I said long lasting because you can't rush it, but
Yeah. So
you
what about job satisfaction? Why does he say that you cannot rush it?
I think it was in relation to at the time a lot of people were asking him about feeling like they're not making an impact in the world.
Okay.
And he described it like a mountain where impact is like the peak of the mountain, but the people, and he was mostly talking about kids, I guess, whatever that means to him, people who are younger than him, but they were seeing the peak, but they weren't seeing the mountain. They weren't seeing that this is a long and like slow, arduous journey. They want to make an impact, but he said that these kids are doing great work. They're here, I don't know, whatever here is, but they're in a place for a couple of months, and then they're doing great work, and then he asked them like, hey, how's it going? And they're like, I'm thinking about quitting. And he's like, what? Why?
Wow.
And he's like, and they say that they don't feel like they're making an impact.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They don't feel satisfied with their job like that.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
and I mean, I think in some ways I can relate, but I think that the advice that he gave, which is that like there is no easy answer here. It's not going to be that quick. It's not going to be like a 6-month thing and you feel like you have an impact on the world. Like that's just not this is not how it works.
I agree with you, but we have about a minute to go, so I think that I'm going to kind of tie a little bit together, because and this has just happened naturally that things have tied up. But you remember I told you about that the 10-year goal thing. So I mean, you cannot build great relationships in a year, but if you set yourself that you will try to build relationships with X number of people over a 10-year period, then you can definitely break it down to the number of, how much you should engage in by 1 year. But further, like you said, bring it down to how many new people you should engage in a quarter. And maybe over a period of time, that cumulative effect will lead to, because the 10-year goal is much more easier to think about in something like this. And at the end of the day, it is that long-term happiness that will drive life forward,
I think so.
Wow.
I think these two topics are very closely linked.
Yeah.
And seems like two different topics, but it's the same thing, really.
Well, to be continued in a future conversation.
Yeah, why not?
Well,
all right.
Thank you, everybody. And
thank you everyone for
Shamik.
listening. Yeah. All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.